Hello, everybody. Money Mike and I are back to give you another amazing episode of Another Damn Sports podcast where we talk about everything there is about NFL free agency during the sports wasteland that is the world with COVID-19. Mike, how's it going, man?
Yeah, it's going pretty good. I've been cooped up in my house for the last, I can't even count how many days anymore. I've lost track. I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday. And the only reason I know that is because Survivor's on tonight. But yeah, it's just, been cooped up inside like everybody else. No
Yeah,
sports, sadly.
it's been rough. No sports means that everybody's a lot more bored than usual. Everybody's watching a lot of Netflix and Hulu, specifically Tiger King. I know that's the big thing nowadays. I haven't watched it. Have you watched it?
I've heard of it. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a weird show, but it's definitely captivating millions right now. But what else is captivating millions is the constant NFL free agency news that occurs usually around this time of year. It's basically the only interesting sports news right now because everything else is just being canceled.
Right.
But we have so much to cover for both my team, Mike's team, and a bunch of other teams. So, Mike, why don't you start? What are we going to start with?
So, well, let's start with our teams. I'll ask you, what are your thoughts on what the Jaguars have been doing so far? We talked briefly about how they've gotten rid of some of the key guys that were really important to your run to the AFC Championship game a few years ago, especially on the defensive end. But it looks like they've signed quite a bit of defensive players. They got Joe Schobert, Casius Marsh, Rodney Gunter, Al Woods. You're hitting the defensive tackle, defensive end line, a couple of linebackers. You got on the offensive side, you got Tyler Eifert from Cincinnati. What are your thoughts on what the Jacksonville Jaguars have done so far?
Well, honestly, I always try to temper expectations when it comes to these types of free agency signings because obviously these guys are just roster fillers. Other than Schobert, he seems like seems like he's going to be an elite linebacker for us. But everyone else you just said, I've never even
Right.
heard
It's
of
like,
before.
yeah, it's like who's that?
Yeah, and like everybody's going to dig into their stats, dig into their past plays, and say, "Oh my God, this guy's going to be so good for us." But you never really know until the season comes around. Some of these guys might not even win the starting jobs. So the only guys I really get excited for are big name free agents. Now, Tyler Eifert is probably the biggest name that we've signed, um, but that's only because of fantasy football. The only
Yeah.
reason people know who Tyler Eifert is because he scored a bunch of touchdowns in fantasy football. But if you play fantasy, you know that the past couple of years he has hurt you if you drafted him because he is incredibly injury prone. So it's kind of hard to get excited for a guy like that.
I'm sure that Cincinnati fans would disagree with you that they don't know who he is. I'm sure that they know who he is very well, and they're probably sad that he's not going to be playing for them anymore. But at the same time, if you're Cincinnati, you gotta, you know, move on to newer things because it's not like he was winning his Super Bowls. And then you have Ngakwe who's franchise tagged, and he wasn't happy about it because he wanted to leave Jacksonville. So do you think they're going to trade him before the season starts, or do you think they'll trade him midseason like they did with Ramsey? What do you think is going to go on with Ngakwe, who I
I
now
don't.
learned how to pronounce his name? For those of you
Congratulations,
critics
Mike.
out there listening to the show that know that my weakness in this show is pronouncing names.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Ngakwe situation just seems like a mess. I mean, Ngakwe literally just tweeted yesterday before we started recording this that he said Jaguars we should both move on or something like that. Like it's very unfortunate that both sides, the Jaguars are trying to keep him and trying to do the financially correct thing, and Ngakwe just wants to hell out. He wants to make his money, and I get that. Um, I think the Jaguars are going to end up trading him away eventually.
Mhm.
Right now they have him franchise tagged, but they can definitely still get rid of him. I'm guessing, although that is a high price tag for anybody, even with Ngakwe being one of the elite pass rushers in the league. So I don't know. The Jaguars are a mess. We traded Calais Campbell to the Baltimore Ravens for some draft picks. So we have a lot of draft picks coming up. So they're basically in rebuild mode.
Yeah, do you think that in the rebuild mode now they traded away Nick Foles, the Chicago Bears, get his contract off of your plate? Do you think that they're going to use any of their draft picks on a quarterback, or do you think they're all in on Gardner Minshew?
I think I don't think they're 100% in on Gardner Minshew. I think trading Nick Foles was obviously the right call. I'm surprised they found someone who would want to pay that damn salary. Like obviously we still have some dead cap space, but the Bears are gonna be paying him a lot of money, so they better be sure that they want that guy behind or behind center for them. But Gardner Minshew, he's the guy. I mean, showing just from last year, you could tell that he's someone who has potential to be the guy, but you can't just throw all of your chips in one basket. So I was seeing that I think it was what's his name, Todd McShay from ESPN. He said that the Jaguars are going to draft Justin Herbert with their first round pick in the NFL draft. And I'm like, I don't know if you should spend that much draft capital on a quarterback that potentially is going to be a backup anyway.
Right.
But I think they're definitely going to draft someone, even if it's in the later rounds.
Do you think that you have any interest at all in the free agent quarterbacks that are out there, like the Cam Newton types, the Jameis Winston? Do you think they have any interest in those guys at all? Or do you think they, after paying for Nick Foles, do you think they're going to want to stay away from going that route?
Me personally, if you could get someone like Cam Newton, I think you do it. You know, like I love Gardner Minshew more than anyone else. I'm wearing his jersey right now, but Cam Newton, he's not Nick Foles. He's shown that he has the ability to play like an MVP, to play like the best quarterback in the NFL. I think he just needs to get back on the right track, and I think he could do it if the Jaguars signed him, but I don't know if that's going to happen anyway.
Fair enough.
Jameis Winston, no. I don't want that dumpster fire. We don't need another guy who can throw a lot of interceptions. We got rid of Blake Bortles for a reason.
Yeah. Although he had the same QBR as Tom Brady last year.
That's true. That is true.
Although I think that's more of an insult to Tom Brady than a compliment to Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I think so too. Jameis Winston threw a lot of picks.
Yeah, that's true. Well, in terms of free agency for the New York Giants, they really have, in a similar light, I could list a bunch of people that they've signed that people listening would probably be like, who's that? I mean, they got Blake Martinez at linebacker from the Green Bay Packers. He's a 4-year veteran. He got a 3-year, $30 million deal. He basically was brought in to be the new leader of the defense because they let go of Alec Ogletree, who's still a free agent, to be claimed by another team. But Martinez has had 3 seasons in a row where he's had 140 tackles or more. So he's proven to be a really good linebacker in the NFL. And for a good team, he played for Green Bay. It's not like he was on a bad defensive squad. They were one of the better defensive teams last year. With him came another linebacker from Green Bay, Kyler Fackrell. He also got a 4-year. He only got a 1-year deal, but he played 4 years in Green Bay. So he's coming in with Martinez. So it's like you're the 2 new guys in this new environment, but you're there together. So you're able to feed off of each other in that regard. I feel like Fackrell is going to be more of a guy that's going to be rotated in with O'Shane. I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce this guy's name. I was on my team. Ximines. It's spelled Ximines. So it's hard to pronounce, okay? Ximines. And Lorenzo Carter. They're the other 2 linebackers, but they're both under the age of 25. One was drafted. They're both 3rd-round draft picks, both drafted, one was in 2018, one was in 2019, both in the 3rd round, both under the age of 25. So I feel like Fackrell's going to be rotated in with those guys because Fackrell's more of a backup linebacker. And I feel like the Giants did that because they're not going to land a top free agent like Clowney or any of these other like top defensive end or pass rushers. And it doesn't look like they're going to get anybody in the draft because really the only big name like pass rusher that's available is Chase Young from Ohio State, and he's most likely going to go 2 or 3. He's not going to fall to number 4 at the Giants. So I think that's why they got Fackrell, and then they got James Bradbury at corner, 3-year, $45 million signing. That was actually a pretty good one. 4 year, he's 4 years at Carolina, been a very good corner. He's immediately going to jump in and be the starting cornerback for the Giants because, again, all their cornerbacks are under the age of 24, except for him now. So he's going to be paired up with DeAndre Baker, who was our 1st-round draft pick last year. He was I think he was pick number 30 in the 1st round. So that's good. But all their offensive signings were just guys to like back up their starters. So they got Colt McCoy to be a veteran backup to Daniel Jones. They got Dion Lewis to back up Saquon Barkley. Dion Lewis, who's traveled to all the teams that you hate. He played for the Patriots and he played for the Titans, and now he plays for my team. So you got to love yourself some Dion Lewis there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's not good enough to stay on any of the teams, so I can't hate him too much, right?
Right. Yeah.
New York native.
We always get the Patriot running back cast-offs, so he probably won't be there for too long. And then we've got we got Cameron Fleming. He was a backup offensive lineman from Dallas, and we got a tight end from. He mostly played with Atlanta, but I think he played in San Francisco last year.
I'll say it. Levine Toilolo.
Hey, I was going to pronounce Levine just fine. Toilolo.
Toilolo.
But yeah, he's replacing Rhett Ellison, who retired from the Giants. So, yeah, I mean, none of these moves are really splashy or anything too exciting. But I think the Giants are addressing some of the needs that that they were requiring from last year. And I don't feel great about Colt McCoy as the backup for Daniel Jones because he has started 28 games, but his record is 7-21. So
I mean, he's played on some bad Redskins teams though. Like, I think he's serviceable as a backup. I think
yeah,
he's a decent backup.
yeah, and I like the Texas Longhorns, so he's from that university, and he's played on bad teams. He got drafted by the Cleveland Browns. Enough said there. And then he
Yeah,
played 1 year in San Francisco where he wasn't even. I don't even think he was on the roster, the active roster.
I didn't
And
even
then
know he played for San Fran.
it was like he was there for like a year, if
Okay.
that. And then he was with Washington, which is where he got the bulk of his starts. Which Washington, anybody listening knows they stink.
He has the ultimate football name too, though, man. Colt McCoy. Like, you literally can't
Yeah,
have a better quarterback name than that. So at least you have that going for you.
yeah, and his whole entire contract is guaranteed. It's 1 year, 1.5 million. Can you imagine like getting that call, being like, yeah, I'll make 1.5 million dollars just to be a backup quarterback in the NFL.
Honestly, he has a chance to play too. I mean, it's always up in the air if it's unproven quarterback like Daniel Jones. He has a lot of potential, but you never know what can happen.
Well, I don't think they would ever bench Daniel Jones for Colt McCoy. I feel like the only way he would play is if Daniel Jones got hurt. But the way Daniel Jones does play, where he is a more mobile quarterback, he's more at risk than an Eli Manning type. So there's definitely a chance he could play at
Mhm.
some point. I mean, Daniel Jones has only played for 1 year, and he's already missed games because of injury. So
Very true.
he's not the Iron Man that Eli Manning was.
All right. Well, as much as I love the Colt McCoy talk, maybe we should move on to some bigger name guys. Why don't we?
Yeah, so let's start with probably the biggest name out there. Other than we're going to talk about Tom Brady in a little bit when we have Alex on, special guest for you guys today. But I think the biggest name outside of that was maybe I don't know, arguably Stephon Diggs going to Buffalo. That was pretty huge.
Yeah, I mean, everybody around here is ecstatic about that signing, because if you think about it, the last time the Bills have had a big name wide receiver like that was probably when they signed T.O.
Yeah,
And like that was like at the end of his career.
at the tail end of his career, he had that
So
1 year in Buffalo.
exactly. So like other than that, like can you think of anyone else who was like kind of like a star receiver that came to Buffalo?
Came to Buffalo off of free agency. No, I mean the last receiver I remember that was like a really big name receiver was like Eric Molds,
Okay. Yeah.
but I think he was always a Bill.
Right.
I don't think he ever played for another team. So yeah, this is the biggest one off of free agency that I've ever seen. That wasn't either drafted by the Bills or like
Traded
people
to
like
them.
yeah, but like oh, Sammy Watkins played for the Bills. Yeah, he was drafted there, and
Yeah.
look where he is now, not in Buffalo.
And I think when Kelvin Benjamin came to the Bills, like people were excited, but that hype train like fell off real quick, you know.
That was a terrible situation. Yeah,
Yeah, so this is exciting though. I mean, I've been telling people around Buffalo a lot that I think Buffalo has easily a top 5, maybe even top 3 receiving core now with Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, and John Brown. Like that
Mhm.
that's a solid trio right there.
That's a really good trio because now that Cole Beasley's not your number two, he can do his thing and be in the slot. So it's going to make they're going to be able to move the ball a lot easier than they did last year. That's for sure. Because
Oh
it's
yeah.
going to open up Brown's routes too. He's not going to be double covered as much. Because
Yeah.
people are going to be focused on Diggs in the scouting report. As long as they stay healthy, that's I know a lot of Bills fans are hoping they maybe can go after like a running back to help with Singletary, but I don't know. Singletary, may prove to be the guy.
Exactly. And then you don't really need to waste all that capital on a running back when a running back is such like an uncertain thing, man.
Yeah.
We'll actually use that to segue into the fact that Todd Gurley was cut
Yeah.
by the Rams.
Cut by the Rams, then like the next day goes to the Atlanta Falcons, are the favorite team of this podcast, really.
Yeah, I mean that definitely heightens the potential for the Falcons to be good again. Like they always have a stacked roster, a roster that everybody thinks is going to be elite, but then they always seem to underperform. So we'll see if Todd Gurley can be the old Todd Gurley in Atlanta.
If he can, Atlanta's a dangerous team next year. If Matt Ryan and like Julio Jones go back to what they were a couple years ago, and you have that's a high flying Atlanta offense. Like they might not be the best defensively, but who cares? They might have games where they win 49 to 48 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just incredible to think that the Rams are just they don't know what the hell they're doing. They went all in to win a Super Bowl. They were close. They were very close, but they got rid of so many draft picks, and now they're forced to cut so many people because they don't have enough cap space.
They have lost a ton of pieces. Like I was of the mind thinking, oh, the LA Rams next year will be back to what they were. You know, they had their down year after losing the Super Bowl, but next year they're going to be good. I don't think they're going to. I think they're 8-8 next year.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I mean they play in potentially the best division in the NFC too. So I mean that makes it tougher.
Because Arizona got better with DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
They got him off of a trade from Houston. And so they're only going to get better. And then Seattle is still really good. And San Francisco is still really good. So I don't know where the LA Rams fit into that.
Yeah, I mean if you think about it, they should come in last because there's no way the Cardinals are not going to be as bad as they were last year. I mean,
No.
they have too much offensive talent now to be able to. How many wins did they have? What was it, 4 or 5?
I think they had 5. One was, but they also had a tie in there too at the first game of the season. And
Okay,
and let's
that's
not
right.
forget, every game that they played last year, pretty much every game was pretty close.
Yeah, and they played the good teams tough too. Yeah, they had 5 wins. They went 5-10 and 1.
Yeah, and they could have won that game against Detroit, you know. But yeah, every game was a one-score game pretty much, with the exception of the game against Seattle and New Orleans. But they played San Francisco tight, and we all know how good San Francisco was.
Yeah. Well, you know what's insane? I watched a video the other day of the top 50 throws of the 2019 NFL season, and Russell Wilson probably made up a good like 10% of those. Like he had so many throws on the list. People forget how good he is, man. Like he is definitely at least top 3 quarterback in the league right now.
Maybe it might be because he plays in Seattle. People forget about that team up in the Pacific Northwest, but they
Yeah.
should.
Well, he was
I mean-
also overshadowed by the Legion of Boom for years too.
Yeah, that's true. But Seattle, people forget, were 1 yard away from being the number 1 seed in the NFC last year.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah. That
They
game
were
against
1
the
yard
49ers.
away.
And that could have
1 yard
changed it
away.
all.
That would have changed everything in the NFC last year. Like, who knows if it would have been San Francisco still, if it would have been Seattle, or maybe if you had Green Bay matched up differently and not having to face San Francisco, maybe the Packers would have made the Super Bowl. So it could change the whole dynamic of everything. It's crazy.
Football's crazy, man.
The other running back that went to a new place that's a big name is Melvin Gordon. Went to a division rival, went to the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
And I think the Chargers were able to offer him a little bit more money, but he went to Denver because he was like, F you guys.
Well,
Wait.
the issue was he really strained their relationship in LA, by not. He even came out and said that he regrets holding out, because that was kind of a really crappy situation for him. And I don't know, the LA Chargers are in disarray right now anyway. They have Tyrod Taylor as their quarterback.
Yeah.
So and
Yeah,
they have no
Taylor,
fan base.
Phillip Rivers went to the Colts.
Yeah.
Your division.
Dude, the AFC South is looking to be such a fucking hard division.
Yeah.
Like every single team is gonna be good next year, except for the Jaguars.
I was gonna say you're gonna be the basement team looking up at all those other teams fighting for first.
I know. I mean, you got Rivers signing with Indianapolis. You have the Titans signing Tannehill to a record contract. I don't know if he deserved that much money, but
I don't. And I'm of the mind. I don't think the Titans are going. The Titans got hot last year at the right time. I don't think that necessarily means they're going to be a very good team. Like that has at the high level they were playing at the end of last year, going into this year. I don't necessarily. I'm not going to rule them out. I think they're going to be a competitive team. I think they're going to be good, but I still think that Houston or Indianapolis, if healthy, are better than the Tennessee Titans. I think.
dude, Houston is such a mess though. Like they get rid of DeAndre Hopkins. It sounds like Deshaun Watson is not happy with Bill O'Brien there. Like,
I wouldn't be either.
yeah. Like Watson's gonna try his best, man, but he can't do it all himself, as he's shown for the entirety of his career so far. Like he needs help, and they got rid of his only help in DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know what the hell they were thinking.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what that was about. But you know what? After that happened, the Arizona Cardinals fans didn't care because Larry Fitzgerald announced that he was staying, and you got DeAndre Hopkins and Larry Fitzgerald. So one team is really upset and one fan base is really upset, but one fan base is really happy, and that's the way the NFL goes with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's for sure. Um,
Your division rival quarterback, Marcus Mariota, is no longer with the Tennessee Titans. He went to the Raiders. Now
oh,
he's going to be the
actually,
backup to Derek Carr.
I didn't even see that. That's funny. Good for him, I guess. I don't know. I've always disliked him anyway. I always thought he was way overrated, and
Yeah.
that proved itself last year.
Yeah.
And then moving up to well, let me hear your take on Nick Foles in Chicago. Do you think he's going to be successful there?
I do, because the coach is a Andy Reid disciple. You've got I think he's comfortable with the system there offensively. And I think that's part of Nick Foles' success, is that he's got a cannon of an arm, but he works well under a particular system if he has the right pieces around him. Now, I don't know about the pieces and the weapons in Chicago compared to Philadelphia, but he has the right coach to believe in him, to put him in those situations to be successful. And that's what you want, because that's what he had in Philadelphia. The coach didn't mind that he was there and put him in situations that really made him successful. And I mean, look at what he did in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, against Bill Belichick. Like, he had a phenomenal performance, earned himself a Super Bowl MVP and a Super Bowl title in the process. So do I think he'll have that level of success in Chicago? No, because the Chicago Bears typically don't do that, but we'll see.
Well, I think Allen Robinson's going to be a very trendy fantasy football pick this year, because he was a solid fantasy wide receiver with Mitch Trubisky at the helm.
Mm-hmm.
And just using basic math, Nick Foles is greater than Mitch Trubisky. So in turn, Allen Robinson should be a lot more successful. So I think he's going to be the one that stands to benefit the most from this trade with the Jaguars. And then moving on to Teddy Bridgewater in Carolina. What do you think about that? He was originally supposed to go to the Bears.
Yeah, and I'm not that high on Teddy Bridgewater. A lot of people think that he's like this, like, really, really good. He was a really great signing for Carolina. Was he, though? I mean,
he's never shown to be an elite quarterback. He's always been shown to be a solid game manager. That's always what he's done.
Like, they were quick. It felt to me like they were quick to get rid of Cam Newton, and part of the reason for that was, it was a brand new owner who came into Carolina not too long ago. They're bringing in a brand new head coach, and when you're brand new to a sports team, you want to have your people. You want to have ownership of, like, I brought this guy in, and Cam was the previous generation of Carolina Panthers, so they wanted to get rid of him, I think, because of that reason. But is Teddy Bridgewater really better than Cam Newton?
I don't think so.
I mean, I think the only thing with Cam Newton is that he's injury prone.
Yeah.
But if Cam Newton's healthy, and hopefully Cam has enough juice in him to get to somewhat of a level of what he was in 2015, I would rather have Cam Newton than Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, you're right, is a good game manager. But being a good game manager also means that you have to have the typical game managers are more successful when they have those great weapons around them. Who's the great weapon in Carolina other than McCaffrey? Well, who's fantastic, but he's a running back. Like, what wide receivers do they have down there?
DJ Moore is probably their best guy, and he's good, but he's not like elite,
He's not like an Emmanuel Sanders type.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's in the same division now and is with the Saints, which makes the Saints so much more dangerous.
Oh, yeah, because you still have the danger of Michael Thomas there, and then to give him a solid number 2, like Drew Brees is going to have a field day next year.
Yeah, that division's scary. That might be the best division in football next year.
Yeah.
With Atlanta, we talked about Todd Gurley going to Atlanta with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. Obviously, we're going to talk about it in a little bit with Tom Brady going to the Buccaneers. And then, of course, Emmanuel Sanders going to the Saints. And Bridgewater going to Carolina hopefully makes them better. So all 4 of those teams should theoretically be better than they were last year.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a good way to put it. And yeah, you're right. They might be the best division in football. Yeah. Is there anything else? Anything else big? I mean, I know the Vikings re-signed Kirk Cousins. I mean,
but that's not really that big. I mean, who cares?
Cowboys still haven't signed Dak, right?
Yeah, so what they did with Dak Prescott was they franchise tagged him against his wishes, and he said he was going to hold out if he was not given a contract, which that was a very interesting story because Dallas has a lot of talent. They were able to, they signed Amari Cooper, they signed Ezekiel Elliott. They still haven't given Dak a long-term deal, and if he holds out, Dallas is virtually no threat in the NFC least. So,
do you think it'll still be the NFC least next year? You don't have any faith?
I have no faith in the Redskins. I have little to no faith in my team. And I have little to no faith that Carson Wentz can stay healthy. So And if Dak Prescott holds out, it might be the team that gets. And again, there's 17 games next year. It might be the team that gets 6 or 7 wins that wins the division, which is so sad.
Oh, Jesus. When is that division going to show up?
Well, if Dak Prescott gets paid or shows up and plays under the franchise tag, Dallas should theoretically, based on roster, Dallas should be like an 11 win team, 10-11 win team.
I feel like we've been saying that for a few years now, though, man.
And they always come up short. I know.
Yeah.
But you know what? Now they have Mike McCarthy. Maybe he'll, I don't know, put them over the top. I hope not. See. I hope they continue to suck. But
yeah, don't we all?
But why don't we? So when we come back, we're going to welcome a guest to talk about the biggest. We've talked about all these free agent signings, but clearly the biggest one was when Tom Brady left the New England Patriots to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We will have our friend Alex Dean on to talk about his reaction to losing the quarterback that he has known for 20 years in New England.
And we are going to drink his tears.
Drew, let me ask you something. I know you're a big fan of Spotify, but what is it about their platform that makes them so great?
Well, Mike, for starters, on Spotify, you can listen to all of your favorite artists and podcasts in one place for free. No premium account required. That means I can headbang to Metallica and Slipknot all day long until I experience neck pains. You can sing along to Florida Georgia Line or Blink-182 while you daydream about Daniel Jones's Cavs.
I've also heard that Spotify has a massive selection of podcasts to choose from that cover a wide variety of topics, including the podcasts that our listeners are turning into at this very second.
That's correct. Podcasts on Spotify span from your favorite informational or political podcast to a couple jabronis talking a bunch of nonsense at a kitchen table.
All right, I'm done acting like I don't already know how great Spotify is. Listen, everyone, just remember that on Spotify you can become a premium user so you can download episodes to listen offline no matter where you are. You can follow your favorite podcast so you never miss an episode, and easily share what you're listening to with your friends on Instagram or any kind of social media platform.
If you haven't done so already, be sure to download the Spotify app, search for Another Damn Sports Podcast on Spotify, or browse podcasts in the Your Library tab. Also, make sure you follow Mike and myself on Instagram and Twitter, along with the official Another Damn Sports Podcast page on Instagram, to ensure that you never miss an episode.